Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Happy Productive Podcast. And I know you guys are going to love this one. I'm here today with Dr. Michael Matucci, PhD and founder of Encompass Life. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jennifer. Matucci, like Gucci, the
Matucci, like
brand.
Gucci,
Yes.
Matucci.
And for clarity, I have someone else founded. I am a partner in Encompass Life. Someone else did found it. I was student one, or student
Oh,
X of
fantastic.
this particular really special modality that we have that is creating miracles inside and outside of us. So just to be clear, that's the situation.
I love it so much, and I cannot wait to dive in. Michael, can you just take a few minutes and tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to be doing this work that you're doing?
Yes, delighted to. Thanks for asking. I have a mission, as I discovered later through this work. It helps find your mission and purpose very clearly. That I'm here to ignite the truth, the divine truth of who we really are, how this world really works, and how we can excel and contribute and serve and really grow in it using the actual spiritual laws of the land, which people don't talk about. We're looking at other types of things, and so that wasn't always the case. I did, however, have a fire for growth. I just love to grow, and we moved around a lot when I was a kid, and during that time frame, I went through a about it's 8 years, four pretty bad, eight overall of kids when we moved to one particular place, just making fun of me, just behind my back. For the most part, I was a late bloomer, and coming from an area that was innocent and pure, and I didn't have the defense mechanisms to know how to make fun back, or to stand strong in that, or to just blow it off, or to laugh at all. I didn't have any, and I was just a little, this little animal coming out into the wild, and it was like, oh, it's really, in a sense, I have a lot of sensitivity, so it's really tough. So I didn't recognize at the time, but that ended up driving me to on this path of growth and becoming almost supernatural, Superman like, in order that I could be in a totally defense, like I never have an issue because no one can make fun of me because I have all of these skills and talents. And what are you going to say? And that drove me down deep without me knowing that. And I had an openness to go. So just to go wherever. I've lived in 5 continents, speak 5 languages, learned a lot of Eastern and Western practices, from traditional management consulting to how energy works in relationships, from martial arts to yoga, meditation, theatrical arts, a lot of things to get to know myself, or as Socrates says, know thyself. And in so doing, I was able to peel back a lot of what we are given as young folks and all folks in society, and see what is true. And there's always a little layer, and it's like, oh my gosh, that was all these years I thought this, and oh my gosh, that's a bunch of crap, and oh no, this is the truth. And continuing to get deeper and deeper, and realizing that we're these infinite beings, and that we can continue to tap into these amazing well springs of talents and capacities, skills, and abilities inside of ourselves. And as I continued to do stuff more and more, I was able to access that. Finally, I've come to Encompass Life, as I mentioned, as a student first, and we have a particular technique that I found is the fastest way to grow that I've seen in anything that so far in 15, 20 years of self-development work. And that's why I said, you know what, after doing a couple of years of this, I'm going to help the company out. I was asked to join, and I started doing more and more, realizing, people just, it's so essential for them to get how this works and get how they work, so that they can go out and create the impact they choose to in their businesses, families, societies, communities, whatever it happens to be. And having these tools within, complete game changer, complete game changer. And it's fast and fun. It can be a little bit intense, because we like to move things fast. Some of our veteran members call us the Navy SEALs of coaching, or Navy SEALs of spirituality. Like, it's like, you go in and we're gonna freaking get tough, and then so doing, the eliteness in you comes forth. So it's a special thing that we're doing, and I'm ultimately here to serve, to light that truth up inside of people, or help them light it for themselves rather, and then guide them on the path of their divine missions.
Oh, so fantastic. I love this so much. I mean, the Navy SEALs of spirituality. That's so fantastic because, I think so often, or at least I see it in my coaching practice as business owners, sometimes um, if it gets too quote woo woo, people start to reject it. And so we end up having, at least in my practice, we end up having to use terms and at the end of the day, it's how I can connect with somebody. But we'll end, you can always use mindset with an entrepreneur, but sometimes when you start talking about spirituality, they won't always be open to it. The truth of the matter is that I love spirituality so much. I love this work. I love all the deep stuff behind it. So I'm so excited in the episode today to just like boast open this door. And I have the Navy SEAL of spirituality here with me today. So that is so fantastic. And like, let's just go there. Like, I'm really, really excited to hear what you have to share because I mean, I believe it's at the core. It's at the core
Yeah.
of everything and how it really works. And if we can start to have a deeper understanding for how these things work, we can actually really have more deeper, meaningful lives. We can accomplish those things that we want to accomplish. And so, just talk to me a little bit about like, let's start at the very beginning of what do you see gets in people's way the most when it comes to embracing their own spirituality?
Well, here's the I'm going to answer that by also addressing what you just said about it's really the crux of the issue, which is if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, executive, high performer, a high performing mom and dad, it here's the one thing. It is the one and only thing that really, or the main thing to concern yourself with when it comes to your performance, your abundance, and your really fulfillment and enjoyment of that big path that you're taking, is that it's all happening inside of you. Everything is happening inside of you, and it's reflected out here in front of you because that's just the nature of our reality. And so I've done a lot of that woo woo stuff, years of yoga and all these different types of modalities and experimenting and so forth. But I like to make things practical. So if you can park for a moment the idea that this is spiritual, something different than the practical, recognizing that you're just being reflected, just like if you're a mom or dad and you're having a tough day or it's been a little tough period and you're seeing in your kid that they're kind of reflecting you, right? They're kind of acting out because you've been a little bit edgy, or they're hiding because you've been edgy, or whatever that relationship can be. We can easily see that that's taking place. Now they're just the purest mirrors for you, the most pure because they share your DNA, they share your energy. But the reality is people around you are reflecting you all the time. It's just the nature of how we work here in this planet. That's just how it goes. So when I get that, then I start to see, wait a minute, that means if I would like my employees, the people that I'm managing, to raise their level and to become more independent, to become more creative, then instead of just doing the outer education information, which I used to do as a leadership and management consultant, I start inside of myself and ask myself, okay, what in me is creating this, is co-creating or contributing to this stuckness that they're experiencing or the limitation they're experiencing, or that they keep asking the same thing over and over again, or that we're at wherever number at as a company. It starts inside of you. You're the first activism. So recognizing that they're reflecting you, they're looking to you both physically as a leader, but also energetically, they're reflecting you. So that's the absolute number one, is go inside and see where you're contributing to this happening. And the second part of that is it's you, by going into the core, it requires you to change in the core. It doesn't mean, oh, I recognize this going on, now I'll use some mental idea and then do this and try to be better and all this kind of stuff. The reality is, to effect that change in the core, it's essential to work from the core. And that's beyond any new schedule or program or mindset. It's beyond all of that. Those things can contribute, but until you go into your own core and shift things at the soul level, which is the emotions, your will, your subconscious mind, then it will continue to perpetuate itself no matter how amazingly strong you are. I've done it. Believe me, I'm a really strong guy, and I thought I could work it and hustle it and do all these things and I get around to this other part that would happen on its own. It's a slugfest. Instead, you can
Yeah.
go within and shift inside and then allow and watch your surroundings, people around you, the situations around you shift.
Oh, love it. We're going to come back to this, but one of the things that you said really resonated in our coaching. One of the things we do with our clients is that we require that they take what we call extreme ownership. So, like whatever the thing that's
Hmm.
going on in your life, like you've got to take extreme ownership of the problem, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to have the power to change it. And that's what this sounds like a lot of, just like it's easy to blame the employee. It's easy to blame the whatever is going on in the external world. But what I'm hearing from you is that it's not really that external is just reflecting what's going on inside of us. And if we're not taking extreme ownership of it and going internally, then we're really not going to change it. And some, tactical thing, program, whatever, isn't really going to have the effect that we want it to have because we haven't changed ourselves at the core. Yes?
Yes, it starts absolutely with ownership and responsibility. Blame is one of the four emotions that keeping anyone stuck. It keeps anything stuck. That's huge. After blame, there are three more which we point out. One is shame. Now you say shame, that's the scarlet letter. That's something shaming somebody online is very extreme. Not really, because shame is like all emotions a continuum. And if shame is connected to a little bit of embarrassment, do you feel a little bit embarrassed about how your kids are acting? A little bit embarrassed about, my business should be bigger by now. It should be, my team should be acting this way. Oh man, that's on me. I didn't really do it. And that is a little embarrassment. That is also keeping the situation stuck. So then there's another one, which is guilt. So if there's some guilt around, I should be there by now. Kind of a little bit of a tie in to what I was talking about, but that feeling of like, it's my fault, we should, these types of words. And the final one is hate. Now, hate, people think, oh, it's just hate, violence. No, hate is again a continuum like anything else. And there's a lot of things on that continuum. If you don't like something, you hate it a little bit, right? So if you don't like where you are, you don't like where your team is, you don't like the way that how annoying the clients can be, it doesn't make a difference what it is. If there's in you, you're projecting a little bit of that. It's like throwing tars in the wheel. And so it's essential to look at all of those and really feel through them, not just get it in your head and say, oh great, now I'm casting all of this into the sea or into earth or into the skies, give it to God. Well, you can. At the same time, it's in you because it's asking to be transformed. Until I do that deep stuff and touch all of that and allow it to be okay and shift it in my body, it will continue to produce a result. Not bad, just a result, which is going to hold things back. It's going to limit things. And then if you avoid dealing with it or you don't go deep enough, then it'll just get bigger. Not
Mhm.
again to hurt you, but so you'll eventually deal with it. As it gets bigger, you eventually deal with it. So that's the kind of space that those are the main emotions that we're looking at. And then we have some very special tools to help people find exactly where that spring is coming from, where that dislike is originating. And often it's much bigger than the exact moment that we're in. It stems from way back, and finding that and turning it around, we can actually then accelerate really quantum leap the process, which is why we call our technique the quantum leap technique, because we're able to move so quickly when we get to this real core, and then we shift these things, we can create very, very quick changes.
Oh, I love it. And so let's say that as a business owner, we first of all have the courage to go within, right? Instead of throwing up walls and defenses and making excuses and saying it's everything else, that we decide to throw all that aside, and we have the courage to say, all right, you know what? Here, Michael, he's making a good point. I'm gonna like really go within and I'm gonna look at this stuff. And you go within and you start to look at it and you realize that maybe there's a lot more going on under there than you thought, right? And you get in there and let's just say that there is some dislike. Maybe you don't like the way that your marketing's working, or you don't like the way that the finances are in your business. You're always living check to check, or there's debt, or maybe there are some issues with your people, and you realize there are some things that you're not really liking in your business. Okay, so here you are, like, I've got this moment of awareness. I'm ready to take ownership. I'm acknowledging that there's things that I don't like that are going on in my business. Then what? So what do you do with that? Because I could tap into, I would imagine, a lot of really deep emotion that maybe you've been carrying, and maybe you've even been carrying this stuff with you for your whole life.
Yeah, that's a great question. There are many ways if you would look online, say, how do I, move through something like this? And I went through some of these things, and what the risk is if you just look at it topically without feeling it, then what people do is what sometimes is called spiritual bypassing. They're going to like it anyway. No, I have to like this guy because that's what a good person would do, or because Michael and Jennifer Don were talking about that not liking something is going to slow things down. So I'm going to like him or I like the situation. But if you do that on top of the other stuff, that's not going to work very long. And it's going to be very tiring for your body. So it's really getting down to the real root of it and assessing what it exactly is. And this is where I come into my mission of truth. It's like, what's the truth about it? You don't like it. Why? And you're oftentimes the perception is because this I don't like it because this person is slowing things down, or because my marketing I don't like it because it should be here and they're not doing a good job, or the fans should be responding to my content on social media. But that's often coming from something deeper, an expectation, and they're not realizing that that's actually a blessing. It's actually what's going on is actually training. You're seeing it as an opposition. You don't like how it's going because you're only looking at a very myopic part of the picture. When I step back and I get a real huge view, you'll see that when you see that antagonistic force is here to assist you, then you can begin to move from, oh, I don't like it, to like, oh, that's what's really going on here. And then you start to tap, well, let's actually look at what things look like when I've used this situation to help me in my business and to help me in my life. It could be from something in your business could be here to help you flower in your home life, in your relationships, in whatever it is that's important for you. And you're looking at it in this compartmentalized way, and it's not going the way you choose. So it's really getting to the root of that. And then, why we have, we have long, year-long journeys, half-year-long journeys, different things for people to do that. Why we do that, have durations of that option, is because over time we actually shift so many that we help folks shift their approach, their actual view on life itself. Because if you don't like something, then you don't like life. You're actually life energetically. You have the creative force, the creator force in you, and the creator is life. Then you're like, and if you don't like something about life, then you're not liking life. You're actually hating on God and life in an energetic way. So then we help people shift that. And it can take a little time because we were wired differently, or not wired originally biologically, but over in this society, we're given all these things and told all these expectations about them and taught these ways. And we're taught the opposite of that. So walking people into that ability to eventually, what we do is something crappy happens. It's just like, woohoo, celebrate. Like, oh gosh, that's okay. What's really going on here? All right. That marketing campaign totally bombed. All right, great. What are we learning here? What's our move, and being able to celebrate with life. And that's way more than just choosing to do it with your head. That is shifting it from the inside. So it happens automatically, and you can live in this playful way with your business and your life that is remote to probably anybody in your entire lineage, which makes, again, the real deep work a little bit more challenging to do the superficial stuff, because you're carrying around an opportunity to shift your entire lineage. And that's big. So your stuff that you don't like is actually the key to accessing the healing and beauty in your family and your life that you can only have dreamed of.
Oh, I love this work so much because this is something I definitely practice and use with my clients, in a slightly different way. But the idea behind of, here's this challenge in your life. And I know when I do this for myself, instead of being angry at the challenge, when I ask myself, what can I learn from this? Or how is this actually here to serve me? How is this challenge helping me? Like, I don't know, it literally physically inside my body will like open things up. It's hard to explain a little bit, but when I take something that I'm like, man, I really am not very happy about this, whatever, in my business, and then I start to just ask myself, all right, wait a second, Jen, just, how is this here to serve you? It's like this shift that will happen. And I physically will feel it in my body where things just start to open up. And it's like my perspective changes. I go from being resentful to, having gratitude and being like, oh, wow, I can actually now be grateful for this thing. And I can almost see like the bigger picture. And so I don't know if there's a word or whatever to describe that process, but it sounds like it's a lot of what you're talking about, that when you really do go do, this deep work at the core, and you start to look at it and turn it and almost like use it to your advantage, it kind of opens you up to a whole new perspective.
Hmm. It's like an internal judo. So if you choose to really excel in your life, as far as anyone has gotten, there are multiples upon multiples upon multiples of greater abundance, fulfillment, love, whatever you choose. Then it's a requirement to really go within, and it's a feeling journey, right? It's a lot to, like you were saying, like, how do you put this into words? Because you're doing it inside of yourself, and there's nothing that the intellect can explain. It's more of doing it again and again and again and as you become adept at feeling that and noticing, oh, that's not me. That's a opinion, a judgment I have about the situation. That's not me. And you're thinking it's you because it's your thought, until you distill those and pull these things apart. And it sounds complicated, but it actually is really simple, because that's the way that we are wired. That's our actual hardware working, and we've just haven't used it in so long. So being able to do it again and again, so we work it like it's a martial art, but it's all inside of you, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a battle, because that hold, that judgment, that criticism, that expectation, that shame has inside, has been living in you perhaps for decades. It's perhaps coming through your lineage, and it seems so normal, and you think it's you, until you begin to master your inner world and feel the difference between the true divine you and then these other things that you're just carrying, this baggage that you're carrying. Then then you might be wrestling with each one. But as you begin to become adept at that, then it's much easier and easier to do that, until you're doing it. That's now your main thing you do, and then it's the exception when these things happen, and it's that development inside. And I get business owners have a lot to do. I get that there are a lot of obligations and responsibilities, and you got the new year and you're building up. Here's the thing though, you can do all of that stuff. You can have $1 million consulting, all the best templates and programs. You can have the great, your team is doing great, and you will have this great foot on the gas. And you're like, look at this, we planned it out. It's going to be an amazing year. We're going to blow through all this stuff. But inside deep, these patterns, these old, other than you things that are hanging on, are putting your foot on the brake. And people wonder, why do I feel burnout? I do the meditation, and I take my vacations, and I do my massages, because you've got a foot on the gas and a foot on the brake. And there's nothing anybody else can do to take that foot off the brake. You can massage it. You can go to Costa Rica and you do great things, and these are fun, they're great. But if you still got your foot on the brake, it's going to get tiring. It's going to get stressful. It's going to produce anxiety, which is going to produce frustration. And there's some hate and frustration, and that's going to keep things stuck. And you can be as lead as you choose, but that's just how life works. And that might seem like, oh my gosh, I've done all this work, now I got to go deep. But then too, come on, guys. But it's also the most incredible opportunity. People say you have a universe inside of you. You really do. I didn't really appreciate that until years of work, and realized, oh my gosh, that's true. There is so much going on, and I can do it. And I can do it in an eyes open, practical way, which is the way we show it. Is we're going to go off and do it somewhere else. I get to be present in the moment. Something just exploded at the office in my company. Someone has come to me and said something. I require to have that emotional power in that moment to deal with whatever comes up, and then to act in the most profound way possible. And that's a practical thing. And you can do that too. Everyone can do it when we have walked enough of the walk and have done the practice and have the tools to do so.
So beautiful. It's so funny you mentioned Costa Rica. That's where we went on our last company retreat and our last business retreat, and it was absolutely magical. But it's so funny. I was like, yeah, go to Costa Rica. It really it was fantastic. But okay. So I've done work on myself and continue to, of course, always do work on myself. And I noticed that looking back, I too, like you, moved a lot when I was a kid. There was a lot of abuse and a lot of toxic behavior in my childhood with my parents. And as I became a business owner very early, and have really always had a business. My first real one was when I was 23. But along the way, as I did more of the work on myself, I noticed that when you go through hard things, when you go through abuse, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even have to be like severe abuse. When you just go through hard things, you can kind of like numb yourself down
Mm-hmm.
because you feel all these things and you feel them so deeply. And as I started doing this work on myself and I started opening that up again, I really noticed it was like, wow, I didn't even realize like you numb yourself down to all of these things. And it can be through overworking in our businesses. It can be through, alcohol or over exercising or all these different ways. And
Yes.
so I know right now there are people who are listening, and I've experienced this myself where it's like, this all sounds great. But when I get in there and I start opening up this well of emotion, and it's not that, the good emotions are wonderful when we feel the joy and the happiness and the love, and it's like, yeehaw, here we go. But then those deeper emotions, like that you're talking about, the hate, the shame, the guilt, those deeper emotions, like those are really, really powerful things. And so, what do you say to somebody who's like, oh, hell no, I'm not opening that up because boy, that well of emotion can be a really, really scary thing. And so, what do you say to those people that are just kind of afraid to sort of get in there and tap that well of emotion?
Well, there's a quote in the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, if that's something that you've explored before. It's great. It's great wisdom, and it says, if you go within, and what is within will save you. You do not go within; what is within will destroy you. You can take it to the grave, and I have had several friends and family members take it to the grave. In different parts of my journey, I offered what I could, the tools that I could, even my love and presence and time. And I knew that there was stuff they were holding on to, and it was causing them great physical challenge, and at different ages. And so it literally will, it's like carrying a sack of rocks. And I get it. I get it. It can be very, um, it can be a lot to deal with. So that's why it's great to have some tools to do it. If you go in a lot of therapy, and other types of certain modalities, they'll have you wallow in it, and that sucks.
Hmm.
That is, this idea that you have to go to some counseling circle or some therapist and talk all day about your problems and how horrible this is, and so did this to me, and this isn't happening. No, that is probably why some people are scared to do it. But that is definitely it is important to touch the feelings, but you will be very surprised when how fast they'll move when you actually allow it to happen. And then what we do is, I love doing it fast, fun, and easy. Yeah, you're gonna feel it. There are gonna be some sweating and some tears, and that's normal and it's okay. Um, but recognize that we're going to actually transform it. Another huge thing that I realized later in my path is that I was looking to, as many people say, let it go. Just release that emotion, have it move on, send it there, send it there. But if you let go of a dog that you've been feeding for 10 years, where is the dog going to go? It's to come right back to your doorstep. So until you actually fully reverse it, and that's what I did a lot of work on a lot of things and discovered with this work. I'm like, I thought I already dealt with that. You probably heard that before. Like, wait a minute, I already did this thing. I already did my
Yeah.
mom. I did this, and I did my scarcity. And what's going on here? Because it must fully reverse itself and then the mission is complete. And we have a lot of these things in our lives. So if you have experienced fear, anxiety, and there's that whole made up whole disorders for anxiety. Now you've experienced a lot of that. Maybe your mom experienced a lot of that. It was in your household. Guess what? You don't have to go and feel a bunch of fear and anxiety all day. No, you get to understand that that's meant to be courage. It's meant to become confidence. And when it's fully reversed, you actually walk that walk, then it becomes this amazing strength. And then it's like a badge of accomplishment. And when you're talking to your people, and clients or employees or family, you're like, look, this was me. And you're gonna brag about it. I was anxiety. Oh my gosh, this stuff was going on. I was so worried we were doing well, but I was worried we weren't going to be able to continue to do well, or this and that. But now I have so much more confidence I thought was possible. Actually stepped into my courage, and the people around me are inspired by my courage, and they're stepping into their courage. That's what it's meant to be. So you have a latent blessing inside of you, that emotion that you're carrying around. You may not even be aware of it. All of us are carrying around unconscious pockets of emotion. It's okay. Going there is like going treasure hunting. And you get to the bottom of the sea, and it might be a little cold, it might be a little uncomfortable, but guess what? Treasure after treasure after treasure when you do it in this fashion.
I love it. Do you think that some of these unconscious pockets of emotion are stored in the body?
Oh, sure. They're stored. I mean, the body is, we actually have many bodies. People just see the physical body. We have, depending on the philosophy that you prescribe to, we have energetic bodies of different kinds. So whether they can be physically in the body, they can be in energetic bodies. We have one particular, we do a much more conversational, deep work, and that's mostly eyes open, all eyes open, and really kind of working in the moment, online and in presence. But we do one particular thing which is a little bit different, which is called body electronics. So it has a table portion of this work that accelerates these shifts, and we apply this form of sustained acupressure on top of the clothes. Just you're lying there, and it's all quiet and sacred. And we actually, this guy a few decades ago figured out that there are little crystals in the body. They're called melanin protein complexes, but they're just little crystals, and they can hold these unexpressed thoughts, words, and emotions and traumas. And through this process, we actually melt them. And as soon as we touch these really specific areas of the body, like on the foot or on the hand, I mean, you wouldn't, it's just astounding that literally sometimes a memory comes up in seconds. And then we walk people through again from that position of weakness, victimhood to strength, victorhood in that scenario, and people change radically. So I'm aware of that physicality, and I've seen it also put itself in different areas. And actually, furthermore, we translate, one of our great assessment techniques is that we translate what's going on in your body. So illness, injury, scratches, pains, all of these precisely down to your left index fingernail, I can utilize that to find out what exactly is being stored and help you reverse it. And so, yes, to answer your question, yes, yes, and yes. And but that's also a gift. You're like, oh my gosh, I've had this chronic back pain. I've had this, I'm taking on my thyroid. Guess what? You don't have to take medicine for all that, other than saying stop taking it. My point is that if you shift that deep work, which we do, your body will no longer call for that therapy or medicine. And that's what happens for many of our clients who are taking, sleeping pills, anxiety medicines, thyroid medicines, blood pressure stuff, all sorts of stuff that we, other than talk about the medicine or the condition, we just go into this place where this something was stored, help them reverse it, and they go back to the doctor like, what did you do? You don't need this anymore. Let's just at least cut it down in half. Let's cut it down 90%. Let's just see. And they go off on their own just from dealing with the root of these physical conditions, which is happening in the emotional body.
Yeah, it's so interesting because as a little girl, both of my grandparents were chiropractors. And I remember my grandmother, and I was too young to really fully understand, but I do remember my grandmother doing something that she called acupressure.
Mhm.
And she would work on patients. And I remember just hearing, and at the time I'm little, right? I don't really fully understand, but I remember her talking about holding points on people, and then they would go back into past memories, past trauma, and she was helping them to release it. But so when you talk about it, it makes me remember that work that she had been doing so many years ago, and it's really fascinating to me. Lately in my own life, I've been doing more around water fasting, and I've been reading about it. And I've always liked to do juice fasting. And so I've been doing water fasting. And actually, just a couple, maybe it's like a week ago, I'm doing my water fast. I'm doing like a 24-hour water fast. And it was so crazy because I just like, the only way to explain it is I hit like a pocket of emotion. I'm going along through my day, everything is fine. And then I had actually done a lot of healing work around the earlier abuse in my life and had a lot of PTSD around that. And I've healed all this stuff. Like it truly just does not bother me anymore. And my husband said something and I felt it. I felt it trigger me. I felt all those reactions and all that old stuff. And I'm just like, I couldn't quite understand what was happening. But but now I've actually had read something a while ago that said sometimes when you're doing these cleanses or fasts or things like that, that you'll hit these pockets of old emotion because it's your body like cleaning it out. And that's really the only explanation that I have for it. Because once I realized what was going on, then I'm like, wait a second, I'm fasting. I'm like, oh, wait, I think that's just an old pocket of junk. When you're in it, it feels so real. But then when you start to step back and it's like, wait a second, did I just hit a pocket of emotion? And it's like, oh, I think that's what it was. I think I was just clearing it out because I'm really not still broken in these places. I really have done that work to heal. So I'm just curious. I
Mm.
would love to hear your 2 cents
Yeah.
on like, do you see this happening and is that like a real thing? Because it's happened to me several times where it just feels like I'm usually doing a juice fast, I'm doing a little bit of a cleanse, nothing crazy or extreme, but it's just sometimes these I'll hit these like pockets of emotion and they don't feel great, but then once you kind of clear through them, I don't know, the way I've just kind of helped
Yeah.
myself has just been like, oh, I just think you're just clearing out some of that old junk and then it's gone and it doesn't seem to come back.
Yeah, that's what I used to think. Um,
Oh, oh no,
yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, what happens is it goes into the unconscious. So you're aware of it. What happens is when we thin our reserves, so and lessen the distraction, get really
Okay.
quiet, or are really stressed, or our nervous system's a bit going, then we kind of have a less of a margin, it's less of a cushion, and we become more sensitive, and so
Mhm.
we notice things that like, oh, that here comes something, but here's the gift, and this is where this reversal process is so essential. This is so helpful to understand, is that it's there because it's reminding you that there's more to go. You did accomplish all the things you did do all of that, and you did get all the gains. So the reality is it's one of those things that's got more for you. And so I go back in and then see what's going on without judgment, like, oh, I already did this, or it must be nothing because I already did this. Say, huh, go within curiosity. What is this? What can I what is here? What is this storing for? And maybe you're only at this time in your life when you're able to actually process the message it has for you. But it always has a message. Think of the continuum like trust. Okay, people say, um, I don't trust people. They had some abusive situations. I had a hard life. Don't trust people. I can only trust a little bit here, so and so and so and so. I don't trust. But then they move through forward. They see the reality of what happened in those circumstances. They're doing their healing work. They're moving into trust. And they say, you know what? I've done X amount of years. Now I trust. But is that done? I mean, can you really fully trust? Because if you fully trusted, then you would be doing miracles, because that's what we were told we're capable of. From Yeshua down the line, if you're into other spiritual modalities, the mystics and other places, they were doing miracles, or what we consider miracles by today's standard. And they would say, you can do this too. You can actually do more than me. That's what you're capable. Until I'm trusting, that's because that trust is trusting more than just one guy or men in general or whatever happens to be this industry. It's trust life, and when you trust life, your capabilities can soar to these supernatural ways. So it's a continuum. And so I've done a lot of shifting on that. And until I'm doing miracles, I'll recognize that with all the years I've done, I stay humble student of life and recognize there's more trust. And I start calling that in for myself: more trust, more faith, more confidence. Like, I'm confident, but how confident? I'm courageous. Well, how courageous? Well, you're courageous compared to what you were or what you think everyone else is doing in society. But what if you're here to blaze a new trail? And this emotion that you're discarding is a key part to get you where you're choosing to go. And it's being revealed because you asked for it. You said, this year I'm going to be here. This year my business is going to be there. But you think these things that you don't like or are a little bit uncomfortable are going against you. But the reality is you just call for them to come forth so you could transform them and then utilize those skills to move ahead your dreams. People are looking at these things like they're separate. It's not separate. It's the same thing. It's just the same thing. And just like the pain of touching a hot fire is a blessing, the pain of whatever else you felt is also a blessing. And when you recognize that it is and you unpack that, you move it, you utilize it, then, oh my gosh, now everything's a blessing. If pain can be a blessing, then everything's a blessing. And so it's a lifestyle shift. Way more than a mindset shift. It's a lifestyle shift. It's a beingness shift so that I can do this automatically with grace and ease to greater and greater levels with fun until I'm igniting it in other people just by being me.
So great. Mike, I could hold you hostage on the podcast and just like talk to you all day long. I love this topic so much. I know we're running out of time, but for people who are fascinated by this, who want to go deeper, the kind of work that you do, is it something that has to be done in person? Is it something that people can do virtually? Like, what does that look like for people who are interested in learning more?
We do both. We do primarily online, and we also do in presence to accompany that as well. And we have, in addition to our huge track, we have a couple starter things. That one you can do online, really a good solid piece, and it's accompanied by a weekend together. But essentially, we make it practical and easy. You're busy, you got stuff going on, and so it's more like, if people continue on, it's more like, say, an executive MBA at Harvard, right? You're still living your life, you're still doing your things, and then you drop in with us a couple times a week, and then when you're ready, when you're in there, though, there's no messing around. Like, we're going to go right in, no sad stories, no rapport building, all that kind of stuff. We're here because you invested in your life, and it's a spiritual contract. So we're going to come in right from minute one, and we're going to start taking this ride together. And if you can do that, and you can create massive shifts very, very quickly. We have two folks, beautiful folks, came in recently. One, she was about to get gallbladder surgery, and that was what they were lining her up for. She had done all the other things, and so on. And she came in. She just did one class with us. I think she did one class, and she did the class again because it's just for a month. Because we get deeper. It's other than intellectual. It's all your journey. I think she did the class once or twice, and her gallbladder healed on its own. And she went back to the doctor, and they're like, "What did you do? This is fine now. All this time we thought we were going to operate, nothing." We have another gentleman who is experiencing cognitive decline quite early, young man, still in his 60s, and he couldn't even read anymore. He couldn't buckle his belt. His relationships were quite strained because they didn't know how to communicate with him, and vice versa. And I think he did one class, and I think some extra individual sessions. We do mostly in class format. He can read. He's reading books on brain trauma. He is dressing himself. He's cooking, and he has repaired a relationship with his daughter that was estranged for 8 years. And that was at the beginning. Now, you can get miracles very quickly, and then for people who said, "Hey, I'd like to make this a lifestyle for myself. I'd like to use this to help other people." We have a lot of managers, healthcare practitioners, or healthcare providers, coaches, counselors doing this because they choose to be able to do it for others too, and then they can continue on. But there's a way in for everybody. We make it accessible. It's very, like I said, it's a very Learjet sort of experience. At the same time, we get where you're at, and we do whatever we can to make it accessible for you.
Nice. I love it so much. And Michael, where can people find you online to get more information about this amazing work that you do?
If you come to our website, I have a special link just for you. Encompass Life, Encompass like all encompassing, encompasslife.com/breakthrough. You do encompasslife.com/breakthrough. You will find a business. Some of the stuff we talked about today, I have a special PDF just for you guys. Download it, enjoy it. You'll get more detail about what we were talking about and the things that are killing business, but the ways you can change those around to enhance your business. And then if you choose, you can peruse the website, or you can also book a call with me. There's a call link there as well. Or you can send me a message, and I can happy to share some further resources with you. Here to serve. And you guys are doing big stuff out there, and I feel that everybody's work is important when they're doing it to the best of their ability in their most aligned fashion. It's going to take everyone in every industry, people in every industry, in every socioeconomic space, in every type of business, in order for us to create spark change in our country and in our neighborhoods. It's everyone, more than just people who are dedicated to this type of work. You're the change maker, but it starts with you, and that's cool. That's cool, huh? It's really fun. Like, wow, I get to be a change maker. I get to facilitate miracles. What? Yes, you can. And we'll show you how, and we'll do it together. We'll just tell you how to do it. We'll do it together, and with you as your own guinea pig, so that you get how it feels, and you can be like, oh, that's what they were talking about. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I was doing this one thing all this time, that it was taking me opposite of where I was choosing to go. Oh my gosh. So you come to your own awarenesses, and it can be a lot of fun. I mean, it is fun. It's just, it's a roller coaster of fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. All right, you guys, we're going to put all the links to Michael and the programs in the show notes, so that if you didn't catch that, you can just hop on the show notes. You can click the link. I really would encourage you to find out more information about Michael and this amazing work that he's doing. Michael, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I really, really appreciate it. I'm so fascinated by all this, and I love these conversations, and I know that we've helped some people today.
Oh, thank you so much. I love your energy and the way you host and share on your shows. And it's been a pleasure to be here with you today.
Awesome. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Now just get out there and have a happy, productive day. Bye, y'all.